Multiplayer shooters on cell phones are, of course, a lot of fun. Battle royals, tactical PvPs, team-based horror games, and of course the old Call of Duty mobile. With that said, however, it's kind of a little painful to not be able to play your favorite shooters at times without a stable Wi-Fi connection. With that in mind, here's a list of 18 brand new first and third person shooters ready to go offline for your Android and iOS devices as well. Let's go. At number 1, playable both offline and online, of course, more varied when played with others in PvP, we've got over here from roughly a month ago something called Gun Games Offline. Weird name, of course, but sitting on the Play Store with over 5 million downloads already. Which is honestly for a month a little too much for a mobile game. See, this is actually from the same developers of FPS Commando, Anti-Terrorist. Both games got over 10 million downloads on the Play Store since a couple of years ago, and this is also once again all the way free and playable offline. Not sure, but I've even heard this one supports a controller. Sitting on the Play Store since 3 weeks ago, with over 100,000 downloads ever since, we've got Recurrence Co-op. I've actually no more realistic tactical shooter in this list that came out for the past few months, let alone 2023. Recurrence Co-op, hence the name, is primarily tactical team-based. However, it does actually support offline plays with different modes with AIs and pretty much no way short of spectacular in any way if we're considering it's a mobile game. Check it out, this game is about 400 megabytes of space. Coming up at number 3, downloaded about 10 times, not 10,000 times, we've got Shooting Elite, Hunt, and Skeet. This is an all-the-way offline first-person casual shooter, almost a fire range training shooter, but then also a hunting game where mainly with 4 different types of weapons you go up in either nature, hunting wolves, or shooting birds, or just practice mainly. This game's supposedly having an online section added in a few months, and it's right now taking you down for about 200 megabytes of space. Coming up behind that at number 4 from roughly 2 weeks ago, we've got over here Mad Squads, which has been in the making, I've heard, for over a year now, and finally here is an online/offline semi-battle royale shooter. So you can totally play this one offline and still be left with a few good hours of each round if you're into games like Fortnite, about a little base defending style, like Halo. This game's free, it takes you about 100 megabytes of space, and it's definitely got a lot of potential. At number 5, now you can cue me on this one in the comments as much as you want, but believe me when I tell you that this is perhaps the best game in the list in nature, the most addicting in content and the smoothest in gameplay, however, an online game. For those of you who missed it, here we've got Archer Attack 3D Shooter War. Sitting on the Play Store since last month with over 1 million downloads and a 4.7 out of 5. Now the good news is you can actually play this game offline with no ads if you do purchase just a $1 pack or anything. However, you can actually still play the game online and watch ads, which is in my opinion way more rewarding if you like to have a little extra fun. So keep it in mind. Battle Forces, on the other hand, which is, although downloaded over 5 million times, I've actually said this before, actually one of the underrated, if we're talking recognition, games of last year. See, first off, graphically, this game is just probably the most amazing on the Play Store. In gameplay, it's very generous. Hell, the online play, if you preferred it that way, has you and about 10 other players in a lot of different games, where eventually you won't even know what hit you in the middle of the night, after hours of just chaos. This game is playable offline, of course, and it takes you down for about 300 megabytes of space. It even supports a controller. At number 7, quick mention over here, downloaded about 10 times. History repeats itself over here. We've got probably the best offline and free-to-play World War II tower defense style zombie shooter of this year from a week ago only, something called The Last Land. This game's free, doesn't even have ads to watch, it's pretty decent and visual smooth, and for replay value it's, out of an indie developer, something to behold. I don't know why this game's downloaded only 10 times, but sometimes they do in the beginning. So what I'm saying is that it's got a lot of potential, check it out. Coming up behind that from a month ago, we've got Stickman Sniper Shooting. Guys, look, we've got over here actually 2 games from the same developers. Just go down in the description, click in the link, down under this title number 8, you will see 2 games that are made in Stickman style that are both shooters and offline games. Quite legitimate games, they are both a 5 out of 5 in my opinion. Imagine what you'd get by mixing a somewhat AAA mobile exclusive shooting, sniping, and having a Stickman style. I mean, this guy has been perfecting the formula over here, so that's it. At number 9 from half a month ago, we've got over here Call of Guns, Mad Heroes Arena, or as the title suggests, FPS Pro Shooter, gun game 3D, whatever. See, they changed the title for getting recognition for the keywords they use on the Google Play, and since this is an offline game, and offline games do get less call-outs, it's just pretty reasonable in my opinion. Anyway, this game is an arena-style, third-person offline shooter, some gangster crime style games. It's free, has melee and shooting components too, and a few different mods to play through if you like, whatever. So keep it in mind. At number 10, coming from only 10 days ago also, I mentioned this one a couple of days ago, sitting on the Play Store with about almost 1,000 downloads. Not a free game, but taking you down about $50. This is a survival horror story-based shooter, as you can see, called The Fall. I mean, I don't even know where to begin. This game is just a mix of The Last of Us, the Walking Dead games, and just infused with some puzzle and survival horror elements. It's great. It's an Into the Dead game from Netflix, albeit made by an indie developer. It's almost free, it's taking you for $50, and it's got quite a legitimate story. There's one problem though, this game doesn't speak in English. You can see the text in English, but the story is like a Middle Eastern language. So it's good though, so keep it in mind.
Look, teammates died because of this stupid decision.
At number 11, so don't hate me guys, remember this was supposed to be also a list of games that were just released, first or third person shooters of this month. We've got over here one of the most anticipated battle royale shooters of 2023, released just today, going by the name Farlight 84. Now, I'd have to say this is just maybe just about the most advanced in visuals in the list here and playable only online. So maybe y'all who do have a stable connection over here want to give this one a shot. This game's free and takes you down for about 1 GB of space. Came out a couple of days ago and it's one of the biggest games out there, if you like shooters. Coming from the same developers of The Last Survivor, we've got over here maybe just the best offline survival horror game that came out for the past few months. Once again an offline, albeit first-person shooter at its core this time around, Counter-Strike inspired, technically cloned off of, shooter that's playable even online with or without your friends if you prefer it that way, ton of different mods and weapons to choose from. Game's called Target Ops FPS Shooting, it's downloaded over 10,000 times since only 3 days ago and it is all the way free. At number 13, we have from a month ago, a action zombie shooter sort of survival sandbox and to some extent strategy game called The Survival Days, as you can see. You can actually play this one online, watch a few ads and get a ton of upgrades and levels and have much more fun as you go. However, you can actually play this game offline all the way. It's hella addicting, it's pretty easy to get the hang of, and it's got over 300 or something stages to even go through, so. Quick honorable mention over here, guys. We've got over here since mid last year. Honorable mention because this game been out there for almost a year now, with almost 1 million downloads ever since. One of the few offline shooters that does support controllers. For those of you who missed it here, ATSS2. This game is not a first but a third-person mission-based shooter, quite a bit like the previously mentioned game Farlight 84, except this one's playable all the way offline and has a much broader in-game world and many more maps and weapons. Coming up behind that from roughly a month ago, we've got over here once again Fire Coverage. This is one of the better indie action shooter wholly offline games on the Play Store. Weirdly enough, I've mentioned this one a while ago, like a month ago, I'm not sure, and still it's downloaded only 1,000 times ever since. So perhaps there's something wrong with this one if I haven't checked. What I do know is that this game is literally offline, quite legitimate for a few hours of play and actually cloned off of another online game. Some of you might know. At number 16, from a couple of months ago when sitting on the Play Store for free ever since December, late last year, with almost 500,000 downloads already, we've got Zombie Hunter D-Day 2. This is a sniping, hunting, offline zombie shooter in general, and probably one of the best shooters in nature. Game's got really good graphics and gameplay is pretty legitimate. D-Day 2 actually takes you down for only 100 megabytes of space. It's literally in every single first-person shooter Android games list out there, but the good thing is that the game is getting updates once every week. Moving on to number 17, we have from August last year. I've actually mentioned this one probably a dozen times as one of the most fast-paced, Doom-inspired first-person shooters of 2022. In fact, one of the top 5 best clones that came out last year. And in case you're just wondering, yes, it was actually formerly named Devil or Devil or something. Devil War over here is primarily an offline game. It even supports controllers, takes you down for 400 megabytes of space, and it's all the way free. And last but not least, probably the most fun first-person shooter that came out in January this year, although we had to mention this one at the end of the video, probably to leave it on a good note. I guess I had to mention this one at last, because it's an online game in nature. However, you can actually get an unofficial, you didn't hear this from me, version of this game with all guns unlocked and totally playable offline. Go ahead, use the link. Game takes you down for 1 gigabyte of space.